asked about whether or not he saw anything different in this Celtics team in this round of the playoffs as he did prior to, and his answer is no. They just ran into a better team.
Yeah, he got outcoached in this round. Definitely got outcoached. I think that there were things he probably could have did in the third and fourth quarter of games 1 and 2, or just throughout the whole series, whether it was, trying to get the ball out of Brunson's hands, because he was a destroyer, especially in the third and fourth quarter.
What about the play that he didn't draw up, or that they repeated with Tatum?
Yeah,
I mean that singular decision. If Tatum hits the shot, you win the game,
right?
And it's a totally different series.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely put blame on his plate, but I also put the majority blame on the players' plate. They had an opportunity in games 1 and 2 up by 20. Can't throw the ball in the ocean in the third and fourth quarter. You were able to, you show that you could beat this team. You win games 3, and then you win game 3 and 5, right? And
3 and 5.
Yeah, so you win games 3 and 5, and then in game 6 you don't show up. Your best player at that time, who's Jaylen Brown, doesn't do anything. Doesn't put the team on his back. Derek White is missing in action. I mean, Porzingis had been dealing with the issues all series long, so you couldn't really count on him.
Drew Holiday wasn't the same. Drew Holiday
was a no-show.
What I found interesting was, you guys remember before the playoffs when Mazzulla, I think it might have been on with Big Cat and PMT, about he doesn't have any memorabilia from the championship in his house.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I said, if they get eliminated, he will cite it immediately. And the other night, he talked about the champions right after they lost. And he's not going to get fired, I don't believe.
He'll get fired maybe not next year, but the following year when Tatum comes back. If he doesn't have,
well, he's got a built-in excuse for next season. I mean,
right? That's why I said probably not next year. It'll probably be the year after that when Tatum is back. Because next year the excuse is you're not going to have Tatum, and your team. Who knows what your team looks like? You might not have Tatum, and you might not have Jaylen Brown, depending on what the new ownership does. Or you might just have Jaylen Brown and one other player. So really, it doesn't matter that you. Because we talked about this at the beginning of the show. If you brought Jaylen Brown and everybody else back, do you feel confident that team could make a deep run in the playoffs? No.
Well, they're going to have to, in some way, shape, or form, eliminate salary.
Yep.
We should get the people from Odyssey to work there. They're great at that.
And
I would guess that Sam Hauser is probably gone. Sam Hauser is making $10 million a year.
Yeah, him and Pritch, they don't make much. It's going to be...
Pritch you keep, because Pritch is a favorable deal.
Right.
Sam Hauser at $10 million is probably a luxury.
Yeah, but it's really the main four and how they figure that out based on what all the basketball cap people tell us. It's Porzingis, Holiday, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown.
And Drew has made it clear that he wants to stay in Boston. I mean, the way that he talked to media, was it yesterday, 2 days ago?
Oh, yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, he was saying, that this was where he wants to stay. He does not want to go anywhere else.
Yeah, but do you want to pay him $30 million to stay here at 35 years old?
Yeah, because you're not going to get actual value for him in return. What I would say is, if Wick Grossbeck never came on the Greg Hill show and said what he said, and if Shams didn't say what he said, are we having the conversation about how they need to shed payroll today?
No.
So why are we giving them this excuse?
Because
they have plenty of money.
Right.
So why are we saying a team failed to get to its goal? They were eliminated by an inferior team. And next year, we're saying they should be worse?
Well, because that's what they tell us. Wick said you can't live in that second apron for so long because it's just too much money.
Did Wick vote yes or no on the CBA?
I imagine he voted yes.
So he was in favor of this, which means he could pay whatever the tax is to stay there. I just don't think we should give them an out to say, well, they have to. It's too expensive. They need to get some money.
Yeah, we shouldn't give them an out. I agree with you, Curtis.
Yeah, I don't think we're giving them an out.
It's just what everybody else is telling us is going to happen.
Right. I understand. That's why they do it. I mean, Wick is not dumb in any capacity. And so you begin the conversation, and then you have Shams say it. So it's sort of this fait accompli. We're like, oh, okay, well, they have to shed payroll because who wants to pay $500 million for a basketball team?
As Queen Jaylen Brown simp, do you give him an out for Friday night?
No, because Wiggy brings up a good point. He played great in Game 5. I mean, I give him. I was saying during the entire playoffs that he didn't look like himself. He'd have moments of greatness, but overall, he looked like something was up. And so I do believe. I don't think they made up this injury either. I don't think that they're just saying that as an excuse. Like, I do think he's been dealing with this for the last 2 months.
This is Eddie in the car. Hey, Eddie.
Hey, listen, I can't believe Joe Mazzulla had the nerve to say that they ran into a great team. Ran into a great team. They were up by 20 points in games 1 and game 2, okay? If their team didn't choke it up the way they did, they would still be playing basketball. I mean, was he kidding me? A great team, the Knicks?
That is wild.
Yeah.
It is a wild thing to say.
You choked it away. That's what he should say. We choked it away. Me as a coach, and me as a coach and the players, they choked it.
Wiggy.
Yeah.
The Celtics cannot lose in a 7-game series to anybody. Nobody will beat this team.
Yeah, well, that was wrong because the Knicks beat them.
You were wrong.
Yeah. I didn't think I had the gentleman sweep on. You know, I mean, I don't think anybody before the series started picked the Knicks to win.
I had Knicks in 6. Can I just say one thing? For all the people that defend the Celtics' imminent need to get out of the second apron, what is a more punitive measure to the basketball team? Getting rid of Drew Holiday, Porzingis, and Hauser, or losing the 25th pick in a draft with one good player?
Probably the former is better than the latter.
Right, so you'd much rather have those guys and lose the 25th pick or a mid-level exception. So what are we talking about? Why are you punishing your team more for getting under the cap or the tax as opposed to dealing with whatever the punitive measures are?
Because the new owner doesn't want to spend $6 billion on the team and then have to drop another $500
Exactly,
million.
but they're going to charge you top of the market to go to the game and watch it.
Well, New Hampshire texter says Curtis acting like paying $20 million on a cap tax is nothing is absurd.
Oh, poor billionaires that buy this as their fun toy. Like, honestly, you're siding with billionaires. Look at yourself. You're driving to work. You're sitting in traffic. You're taking care of your family. Your kids want to go to a game. Why do you give a damn about a billionaire's bottom line?
Well, I would ask, like, if you were the owner of this team, would you pay all that money to run it back knowing Tatum's not going to be there next year?
Yeah, because you have a better chance of winning next year with those guys than you do of raising the white flag without your best player and losing those guys.
Do you think that you can run it back and win, or do you say, okay, we have to start planning on how we can put a team around Tatum when he comes back in 2 years?
Right. I would be focused on next year, and I still think without Tatum, you were a better basketball team than the New York Knicks.
Agreed.
Yeah, but you're not going to spend $500 million to be a first or second round winning basketball team. Why would you do that?
You could be.
What do you mean?
So why would you spend $400 million then? I mean, if we're going to talk about the actual merits of spending that amount of money, it's absurd.
You don't think that this roster, and this is nothing against Jason Tatum.
Yes.
Let me be clear to you. You don't think that this roster without Jason Tatum is much more talented than a lot of the teams in the East?
Oh, I'm not saying they won't make the playoffs.
So then there you
They
go.
weren't able to beat the Knicks.
Because they choked.
And they had
That's
Jason
not a
Tatum.
talent thing. That's
Well,
choke.
But that says something about the character of the individuals that you have on the basketball team.
Even better reason to bring it back and change the messaging.
Yep.
So if you brought this team back, maybe they win a round or two, right? And so now they're not winning 3 rounds now. So that means they get to the Eastern Conference Final. Now you're $500 million.
I think it's less crazy for this team to go next year full speed without Jason Tatum and make it to a finals. I think it's less crazy of that than the Knicks beating the Celtics this season.
If you were to stop the season,
Full speed, by the way, Porzingis for 11 minutes a game. Maybe.
Oh,
Right.
poor guy. That sucks, though. Like, it's crazy.
It
If you
sucks
are a
wins.
professional athlete and they can't figure out how to make you better,
Yeah, I mean, Al Horford is going to be 90 when October rolls around.
Well, I don't know why you would want this team without Tatum next year.
we don't want it without Tatum, but that's what we've been dealt.
Right, but so in order to get some assets, some pieces to build your new dynasty or potentially your new team, it's time to get rid of guys like Porzingis who can't breathe, guys like Drew Holiday.
So if you trade Porzingis, what are you getting in return?
I mean, I have.
Well, you're the one who says trade him. So what are they getting?
I don't know. You get rid of some of that money, and then maybe that money that you then have allows you to, in 2 years when Tatum comes back, to maybe get that third max player if you keep Jalen and Jason.
Yeah, the way I view it, if you can't this offseason, as currently constituted, the Celtics are, my guess, the second favorite to win the East next year.
Not even close.
They're better than the Knicks.
Yep.
They're better than the Pacers.
They're not better than. They're not going to be going in.
They were favored against the Knicks without Tatum.
That was this year. Next year, going in knowing that you don't have Tatum, and maybe the Knicks.
They didn't have Tatum, and they were favored against them.
But what I'm saying to you is next year you don't know what the Knicks are going to be.
But you said there's no chance they're better than the Knicks.
They won't.
According to those that set lines, they were.
Yeah, they were this year, and they were all wrong.
Well, next year, if Porzingis is healthy, aren't they?
But
even
we
a better
don't.
team?
But see, we don't know if Porzingis is going to be healthy.
But that to me is a better risk to take than trading him for 5 cents on a dollar.
What happens if next year Giannis ends up in New York?
I mean, they have great Greek food.
So we don't know going into the season.
Do you think Giannis could park at that restaurant without getting towed?
Yeah, Giannis can park wherever he wants, especially the Greek freak.
Yeah.
When you look, we know what the Celtics will look like next year. Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Derek White, and you're probably starting P. Pritch. We know that's what it's going to look like. Sam Hauser and Cornette, and then Al Horford is probably gone. He's going to be a free agent. So do you re-sign him or do you not? But that's what your team is. Do you feel good about that team?
I don't.
I don't either.
It's just so foreign to me. Like, growing up, all I wanted was my team to win. I didn't care about how expensive it was.
It's not your money. Of course we don't care.
But we're giving them an out for no reason.
But we got to put ourselves in their shoes. If you're the new owner and you're Chisholm and you spent $6 billion on this team, and now your payroll plus luxury taxes or whatever penalties is going to be $500 million, you got to say, can this team get me a championship if I'm going to pay them?
Right. This is the other thing. Like, when somebody runs for president and they bitch about how tough the job is, well, you wanted it. Like, you were one of many people that was in hot pursuit of buying this team.
Yeah.
And now you have the team, and you're like, whoa, look at this unmanageable roster I inherited. You bought it. Like, you knew exactly what the book said, and you spent $6 billion to get the team.
Yeah, but
now I'm supposed to fear your bottom line?
But it's also a results business, and the result was not good.
Right. I would start with the coach. That is where I would go first. It doesn't have to be an apron, no apron, whatever. That doesn't impact the tax. I think Joe Mazzulla is in over his head.
All right, so you start with the coach.
Without Jason Tatum.
In general,
without Tatum to bail him
in
out.
2 of 3 years as head coach of this team, he's lost to an inferior team in the Eastern Conference playoffs. He lost to the Heat. Celtics, much better team than the Heat. He lost to the Knicks. The Celtics, a better team than the Knicks. No, just simple, factual statements.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I also look and go, if you're the new owner, you have no arena, so that's more money coming out of your pocket.
I think he knew that when he bought the team.
No, I think he did, but he didn't know that he'd be without Jason Tatum.
Right.
He probably thought, because I would say to you, if this team is Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and the rest of the guys, all right, roll the dice and run it back. And if I'm Chisholm,
well, maybe then he can focus on a better coach if you think Joe Mazzulla is an issue.
And if I'm Chisholm, I'd say no problem at all. But once you lose Jason Tatum and you go, well, this is what I'm coming back to.
Why am I going to pay the $500 million for a result that's going to be very similar to what it was this season?
Right.
Do you think it's like Express, like you could return the Celtics, like this isn't what he wanted?
I think you have 30 days.
It's the